Well, the Trump-Putin conference has come to an end in Alaska, and we're still waiting to see exactly what the details are going to be as to what they worked out and how this is going to affect global affairs. Apparently, it did not go the way Zelensky and others wanted it to go, because he's heading to the White House with a European delegation to back him up. So we'll see where all of this goes. But what I wanted to talk about for the moment was my surprise at the outrage that I'm seeing in so many social media outlets to the fact that Trump would talk to Putin at all. People are really shocked and angered, outraged that he would host this summit and try to talk to the Russians and negotiate something. You know, like world leaders have been doing for thousands of years to end conflicts, to try to create understandings, to come to agreements, literally for thousands of years. You know, the way that Reagan and Gorbachev did, and what happened as a result of the summits that they held. The Cold War ended, the Berlin Wall came down, the Warsaw Pact dissolved. We reduced nuclear stockpiles. We rolled back the doomsday clock. All sorts of things resulted from those summits that people are very thankful today was able to be worked out between Reagan and Gorbachev, between the U.S. and the Soviet Union in those days. The world was a better place for those summits having taken place, for the agreements having been made. And I remember people were skeptical of it even back then. They didn't think we could make an agreement that the Soviets would hold. But we did, and the world changed, and it changed for the better. But people are absolutely outraged now that Trump would talk to Putin, that he would try to end this disastrous war in Ukraine. And folks, the reality of the situation is, wherever you stand on this, Ukraine is devastated. Hundreds of thousands have died. Its economy is in a shambles. Millions have fled the country. The Russians are not going anywhere. They consider this a threat to their security. NATO involvement, NATO trying to absorb Ukraine and build it up into a military-industrial power on their border. They're not going anywhere, and we don't have the power to force them out of there, short of direct military confrontation, which will end up almost certainly in nuclear confrontation. At that point, we're all dead, and I don't really see how that makes anything better for anybody. So Trump, realizing this, fortunately, talks to Putin and tries to work something out. Maybe not what everybody wants, but nobody's going to get everything they want. And maybe that's just the problem these days. We're also crazy polarized, so easily triggered, that no one wants to settle for anything less than complete accession to all of their demands. They want 100% of whatever it is they want. They're not going to settle for anything less. Anything else is unacceptable, even immoral. Well, it's just not pragmatic, and it's just not going to happen. And we're seeing the price of that in this extended conflict in Ukraine. The failure to end this crisis sooner has resulted in Russia taking more of the country. So if that's your concern, they continue every day. We don't have an agreement. They continue to conquer more of the country. We need to do something about that, but we see the same thing going on in domestic politics as well. Right and left don't want to talk to each other anymore. They just denounce each other, demonize each other, and view compromise with the other side as an immoral act, as giving in to evil, in fact. Folks, we have to find some way to live with each other, okay? We have to go back to understanding that people are not just acting because they're evil creatures in human form. They have concerns that we have to understand. They have a thought process that we need to somehow understand and figure out how to deal with. And we need to be able to come to agreements that we can live with. Not necessarily everything we want, but something we can live with. But unfortunately, people just do not want to do this. And you know, whatever you think of him, Jordan Peterson said something really profound a few years ago. There's a word for people you can't talk to, and that word is enemy. And when you make an enemy of somebody, when you reach the point where you will not talk to that person, will not come to any sort of agreement or rapprochement with that person, you lock yourself into an eternal warfare struggle. And the result is exactly what we're seeing in the world today. Increased polarization, increased tensions, a tinderbox on the international stage, World War III being talked about virtually every other day in the media, possible nuclear destruction looming over us again. And within the United States here, we're facing potential civil unrest, civil war, disintegration, possibly as a country. We have got to somehow figure out how to talk to each other again, how to deal with each other again, how to live with each other again, how to compromise with each other again. And whatever you think of the crisis in Ukraine, whatever you think should happen in a perfect world, at least Trump understood that, and he took a step toward trying to de-escalate and settle a situation which has just grown more and more dangerous over time. And I, for one, applaud him for that and do not understand this stubborn insistence that we should not talk to the Russians at all.